Welcome to Yard Buzz. Yard Buzz is a Robert Jans Media Center production brought to you by the Idaho Department of Correction. Today we have special guest, Joe Pratt.
Hello everybody, welcome to Yard Buzz. My name is Mario Hernandez.
I'm Kim Wardwell. I'm part of the ISCI education staff. And today we have two guests with us, one of which, Mr. Lawrence Weed, or L. Weed, is actually doing a double role. He's part of our media staff. He's also one of our guests today, and our other guest is Joe Pratt.
And we brought these guys in today because we want to talk about a couple of different topics. We've already touched this once before, and it's kind of about doing time. How you want to spend your time, what you want to do while you're here, and how you want to go about being focused on doing positive stuff here, and which is the main reason we've got these guys here, because these guys have been role models here, and and so let's start out with Mr. Pratt. Mr. Pratt, why don't you tell us what's up with you? Before I do that, one more thing. There is about 70 years of experience doing time between the three of us right here. So I just, for all the young guys in here that, they're skeptical, please don't be. We've been around. So anyways, here's Joe.
All right, well, my name is Joe Pratt, and I guess we could just start back at the beginning of this. And I was arrested at 27 years old, drug addict, alcoholic. Could say that I was convicted of 17 violent offenses in 20 hours, and caused a lot of damage in a short amount of time. And they brought me here with a 120-year fixed sentence. And I actually came to the yard, ISCI, in December 1st, 1989. And shortly after that, I went to Max for a couple of years, and then had some time taken off from my sentence, and they let me come over to ISCI again. And so, I started out in prison the same way I was on the streets. Nothing really changed for me. It was just a different place. And so, I started to do, even in county jail, I don't know what it's like for you guys, but going to an AA meeting was an opportunity to get off in the tier. And, I wasn't an alcoholic or a drug addict because I was in denial. And so, I played around with that stuff for a while, and, as I was in Max, with a 120-year fixed sentence, meaning I was never going to get out of prison, and dipping Squawky out of a garbage bag, thinking that I didn't have any problems. And so fortunately, with a time cut, then I had 47 years fixed, and they let me come over to the yard. And the problem is that behavior continued here. And so I continued to drink Squawky, use drugs, fight, be involved in all the same stuff that I was involved in on the streets. That's for another 4 years I did that.
So, Mr. Weed, what is your story? Are there similarities, or is it different?
Some similarities as far as, so this was my first felony, my first time in prison. I came when I was 3 months. 3 months after I turned 20 is when I got convicted of my case. I'm here for second-degree murder, and my sentence is 45 to life. So 2005 started a 45-year fixed sentence for me, and I'm about 17 into that. And my story, it kind of mirrors Joe's a little bit in that I was back and forth to Max time and time again for numerous things, a couple trips to AdSeg, just, wilding out, not really a whole lot to look forward to, or so I thought. But I don't know, I wish I could pinpoint exactly when a shift changed, but somewhere along the line, my gears kind of shifted a little bit, and I thought, well, I need to make the most of this, because it just wasn't conducive to productivity at all in any way. But I resonate with the guys down in RDU. If y'all feeling some type of way, like, you know, it's all bad. I can remember a time when I thought that too, you know what I mean? And it's just, somehow I think that we need to find purpose and we need to find drive and push forward, because without that, it's all gloomy.
So Joe, what was a turning point for you?
Well, I don't necessarily have a burning bush experience as much as what's talked about in Alcoholics Anonymous, of the educational variety of a psychological change, of seeing that, like what El's saying, is that what I was doing wasn't necessarily working. And so, you know, helping people get out of the gym and back to the unit that have been using all day, and just the drama that's involved with all of it. You know, I could see that my life was going nowhere. And so I didn't necessarily have anything that was this, you know, stark moment. You know, I'm the kind of slow on the uptake guy that I didn't want to have a dirty UA when I went to court or someday go to the parole board or something. And so I didn't quit using because I necessarily wanted to quit using, as much as I didn't want the consequences that went with it. You know, I'd already been in Max, and my recreation at one point was in a dog run in handcuffs. And so, you know, Al was talking about RDU, and, you know, you guys might be in RDU right now, and my RDU was in 8 House. In 1989, my RDU was on the old death row tier. And so, you know, I was the kind of dude that when they decided that they were going to give me a shower in the cages, I was handcuffed and shackled and walked across the hall into the cages. And they were nice enough to take my handcuffs from behind me to in front of me while I showered, locked in a cage. And that may sound cool to some people, but after you've done it, it's not really that much fun. And so I started to realize that there was a little bit more freedom even in prison, to where you could have some quality of life, where you could take a shower when you decided to take a shower, not when it was decided for you. And so I'm real slow. You know, I had a real attitude toward the staff. Even in county jail, I spent 9 days in my cell, only food trays coming in and out, and that was it. No shower, no nothing, for 9 days, because I wanted to act up. And at some point, maybe you have to mature up, and I say, you know, I was pretty slow on that. But, you know, to me, you know, you can try to have some sort of reputation, but once you've done enough time, anybody that's done any time, nobody cares. Your reputation is irrelevant. You end up being old and nobody cares. And so, you know, when you're starting out and you're trying to make a name for yourself, or you're trying to piggyback somebody else's or something, it's pretty much a dead-end street, because eventually nobody's going to care. If it's 2-3 years or whatever, you're going to cycle through a new population, and nobody's going to know you and nobody's going to care.
So that's pretty interesting. I guess, as well as you and myself, and, you know, El, what's something that you can say that would give somebody like any kind of maybe an idea for a revelation to say, hey, you know what, whatever it is that is bad, whether it's doing drugs or gang banging or whatever, what can you say to somebody to say that's just not worth it? Because I can say that till I'm blue in the face. You can say that till I'm blue in the face. But do you have anything that you can give to the youngsters out there that are just hitting RDU, or that are, you know, that have been here for a little while? Because there's a lot of those people that are watching this right now. They're going to say, you know what, I don't care. You know.
So no doubt, man. Like, what I would say is that time matters, and throughout the years, I've heard a lot of people say, oh, I ain't got nothing but a couple years left, I'm just gonna top it. You know, I'm not going to see the board, I'm just gonna top it. But to me, for somebody who's looking at a long stretch, the perspectives are different. So being down you know, for a long time. To me, whether it's 1 day or 100 years, like time is time and you can't get it back. So you have to figure out how to make the best of that time. And as men, I feel like we all should have that goal of getting out of here. That should be our #1 priority. Nothing else matters besides leaving this place. Because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but this isn't ideal. Nobody actually wants to be here. So with that being said, I think that it's imperative that you shift gears in your mind and realize that that is the goal, to go home. And when your time comes, whether it be a month from now or 10 years from now, when that time comes, the board's gonna look at everything that you're doing. And ultimately the decision is theirs. And if you're a guy like me who I have to rely on the commutation, they're gonna ask me, well, why did you do this in whatever year it was? And you have to have an explanation for that, or you have to show them change. And it has to begin as early as possible. And the sooner you realize that, the easier your road is gonna be.
You know, I can piggyback something about that is I didn't have a getting out of prison thing. So, not to disagree with Al on it, but there are some people that aren't maybe going to get out of prison if they're doing a life sentence, you know. And even in my case, it wasn't whether or not I was going to get out of prison or not, because I didn't buy into the thing in my brain about being a hardcore convict or, you know, maybe someday at the end of the tunnel, you know, there might be some light. I was looking at it as that the quality of life for me while I'm here, that's where it's at. Being able to walk the breezeway and go to the gym, because I've been 10 years in private prison. So I've been to New Mexico and Minnesota and 2 places in Texas. And so everybody always goes, oh man, what was it like? This is the best place right here. When you have rec, you can walk, you can take a shower, you can do a lot of things in here. And education department, recovery, the chapel, there are so many things to be able to not just occupy your time until you get out, but so that you can actually have a higher quality of life while you're here. Now, a lot of people that are, you know, junkies or, you know, maybe didn't have much or whatever, to think about having a quality of life in prison doesn't really add up. But my firsthand experience is that once I started to pull my head out of my ass, then there were other people that were constantly there giving me a hand up and saying, look, there's decent people. When I got into recovery, you couldn't walk the breezeway with the Alcoholics Anonymous big book because there was something wrong with you. In the early 90s, this was no place to be in recovery because you were PC, something was the matter with you. If you were going to the chapel and you were going to AA meetings, there was something wrong. And so, there was quite a little struggle there. Today, you don't have those problems. Today, it's wide open, it's really easy. You can come to the education department. There's just a lot going on that you can actually alter the course of your life. Whether you're getting out, not getting out. I've been able to work at Correctional Industries for 10 years. And, that training program offered me, through the Department of Labor, apprenticeships that I have today. And so I guess now's a good time to say that I have an open date. After 32 years in prison, I have an open date to leave. And people ask me, well, what are you going to do for work? Well, I'm not a framer anymore. I'm almost 60 years old. And so I don't really plan on having to frame houses. I've got an education now. And I have apprenticeships. And I've used this time, even with Elle, we worked at the same place. We developed a relationship. And for me, that's where it was at. It was, pretty sure I'm not supposed to get all choked up.
I don't think I've seen you choked up before.
Well, this guy here that I just met yesterday, his dad has a place in my heart. Because that was about relationships. That not about gangbanging and who's tougher and how many chicks you had and how much dope you were slinging. And, you know, those stories are great, but I can assure you after a couple of years of those stories, I mean, there's some dudes in here that have done some time. Really, that conversation is, take it someplace else. Most of us who have done any amount of time, that's old news, man. We don't even want to hear it. There's too many things that are going on in our lives that are healthy. I mean, this cat right here, when we started, I don't even know when I met him, but it was a bit rocky to begin with because I was years into this thing and he was just starting. And so, you know, he had a pretty good sized chip on his shoulder. And we have some history together where today, again, I've, big ass crybaby, developed a relationship with this guy that to me is more important than anything else. Whatever I did to get here, which since he was bragging about how tough he is, you know, I got a burglary, robbery, kidnapping, 9 counts of aggravated assault, aggravated battery on law enforcement, attempted murder of law enforcement, and murder of first-degree murder of law enforcement.
What are we playing, poker? This sounds like
Yeah,
you're claiming you got a full house.
I'm up in the ante because he was making me look bad.
I fold.
And so, point being is that I sit here as a crybaby bitch today because I came in with that kind of chip on my shoulder that nobody is supposed to be messing with me. And I'm not near as big as this guy. But I didn't have a problem fighting, and I didn't have a problem making a name for myself. The problem is that now I'm just a beat up old pussy and nobody's scared of me at all. And so I'm a crybaby on top of that. But the beauty of it is for me is that my mom is waiting for me to get out of prison to come home. Amen. And so at some point I had to realize in this process that I better start figuring out who my friends are. And so when I get all choked up, can't pull it off, over a relationship that I built with this guy's dad. And now I get to see his son right here. It's just like picking up and starting over from, 25 years ago. And so those relationships are more important to me than whether or not he's a tough guy or how he got here or how much dope he was slinging or how he got here. Because when you're here and you're walking the breezeway and you're doing the time, that stuff is pretty irrelevant. It's about how we're working it out today. That's a whole lot more important.
Let me ask a question. Having taught TFAC a couple of times, had a lifer talking to me one time, and it kind of related to some of the TFAC conversations where even though he was going to be in and without the chance of looking towards getting out, he said that it was important to him as far as looking in the mirror and not seeing a dumb shit every time he looked. He needed to do things that made him look good to himself and proud as far as paying it forward. Was he feeding me a line, or was there truth to that?
I think there's definitely some truth to that. We all want to look at ourselves in the mirror and not see a failure, and sometimes that's difficult because sometimes you look and you see, and they always say hindsight is 20/20. So, you always think about those things you could have done or what you should have done, or, and those things weigh heavy. I got heavy shoulders because, I think about my little brother a lot. You know what I'm saying? And he was 13, 30 years old now. So I think about them things, man. And you come in here, you lose people, you know what I'm saying? Can't get them, man, I said, you can't get that time back, man. You can't get it back. So if you got the opportunity to get up out of here, get up out of here. Straight up, man. But there's always a chance. You know what I'm saying? Like Joe was looking at 120 years. You know what I'm saying? He was looking at 120 years. Like ain't no math to that. You know what I'm saying? He was looking at how you gonna do 120 years? That's not feasible. You know what I'm saying? But
He did it.
he going home. He waiting on them to go clear his housing so he can leave. You know what I'm saying? So there's always a chance. I don't care what your circumstance is. You know what I'm saying? There's always a chance. You just gotta have faith. You gotta keep your hope where it's supposed to be at, man. And you know what I'm saying? One foot in front of the other every day.
So that leads me to another, that's such an awesome perspective is, there's so many aspects to doing time, and man, if I could take back the same years these guys want to take back, things could be different, but they're not. So, relationships matter, not just with your family out on the streets. We've got to be in here. So forging good relationships with the people around you and making friends is what you should be doing, because if you don't have a friend that's close to you in your vicinity that you're around all the time, then you're struggling to do your time. You can't be doing your time outside all the time because you're in here. So you can manage a lifestyle in here. You can manage with friends. You can make friends and do just real things. Work out, go to school. There's so many jobs that are available now on this yard and every other yard that, we've got this program right here that's open for people that want to do it. We've got all kinds of stuff going on that, you can live a normal life here and not be going downhill every second you're here. And you don't have to wait. You don't have to get flopped 3 or 4 times by the parole commission. It's up to you. And the proof is in the pudding right here. It's up to him, and he's working his way. And me, I've got a life sentence too, and I'm going home too. Man, there's miracles happen all the time. So, and that's what we're trying to get across here. And that's what I hope that, these guys, they came here with real stories, and we're all here telling the truth about how to do time and what's important. So just, if I was anybody out there, RDU, whatever, wherever you're at, just stop and consider your options and don't just jump to go do something bad with somebody. Understand that you can have a meaningful life in here. You just got to shoot for it, and you got to find it. Sitting on your bunk, you're not going to find anything.
Here's the interesting thing that unfortunately you don't get to see when you're looking at this panel right here, is that, I've known this dude back here behind the camera for 20 some years. And, you look at the people that are behind the scenes over here, that there's some hardcore dudes that are involved in this right here. And so today, you got people that came from a real hard place and making a name for themselves, and now they're doing something incredibly productive. And they have jobs with people that count on them and pretty respected. Not in the criminal sense of, oh yeah, man, that dude's got respect. No, everybody's scared of that dude. And so that's not respect. And so the idea here to me is that, you might just look at us as here's these old fuddy-duddies and they've done all this time and they're beat up and they're wore out. And so there was a time when we weren't. And you might be there and you might not be there. I mean, we don't know where this is going or who's going to watch it or whatever. The thing behind all of this is that you have the opportunity to alter the course of your life. And this right here is a representation of people who have decided to alter the course of their lives. Most of us come from pretty bad backgrounds, whether it be dope or crime or, being victimized, whatever that is. And you got here, and it took us a while. I mean, I know some of these guys, and it took us a while to get around to this thing. And it might take you a long time to get around to this thing too. You might want to be careful about how much baggage you're bringing with you when you go in because this dude called you a punk or something. I have to look at it on a pretty continual basis, and for years I had to say, I wonder whether or not my daughter is very concerned about whether or not this dude that she will never meet is calling me a punk. Because she's waiting for her dad to come home. Yeah. And if you can be that tough guy that can tell his family that I'm not coming home because, this dude looked at me wrong, be that tough guy. I'm not. Because I had to come to the place to where I had to be able to explain to my mom, to my sister, to my children, to my grandchildren now, oh, I'm not coming home because this dude looked at me wrong. And so I don't have that. whether I'm a coward or whatever, I don't have whatever it takes to be able to disrespect my family so much to not come home to them. Even if I don't have that opportunity. Because as Al was saying, I have no clue what the parole board's going to look like in 5 years. If you saw what has changed in the last 5 years, you'd be pretty amazed if you were here and saw what has taken place. I've been to the parole board 4 times in the last 6 months. And that parole board has changed every single hearing that I've gone to. And so, whether you go to the board, don't go to the board, whether you want to be a tough guy and top out your sentence, when you're talking about people who have done a grip of time, there is no topping out our sentence. And so, maybe this is the people that say, if we're going to do time, let's do the best time that we can do and make something of it. I don't care if you're doing a 2 to 5. If you don't pull your head out of your ass now, you're going to be doing a 25. Because every single one of us knows somebody that came in with a 2 to 5 and picked up more charges and they got an aggravated assault. Because now it's not called a dispute. Now Ada County comes out here and there's a crime scene and you get charged. That's what happens here. It's not like the old days when, cops would turn their back and say, handle it, deal with it. We don't want to know about it. I mean, you guys didn't know that?
So Joe, this sounds like there's a lot of good talk in this, but I'm wondering if you worry at all about the fact with that you leaving, I'll still be here.
Yeah,
I mean, you guys are all working on getting out of here, and I'm still going to be here. Doesn't that bother you a little bit?
No,
Yeah. Yeah, no.
God.
we're selfish.
Yeah.
that way.
Well, let's just wrap it up then. We'll have to find
Let's
some
do another
other.
video on empathy. Let's do it.
That'll be a real short one, but.
Yeah.
So, Al, you got anything else you want to say? Any burning desires? Because I just want to make.
Not to punch me in the face, because that's mine.
Well, we do
Just
have
use
one
your time
thing.
wisely. That's all I want to say.
Huh?
Just use your time wisely. Try to do it as peacefully and productively as possible, and bide your time and keep your head up, keep hope alive. That's it.
But we also have one other thing with Al. You want to tell him about Mario switching
This is
hats?
the last time that I'm going to be on this side of Mr. Wardwell. It's going to be El's taking over this co-host position of Yard Buzz, so this will be my last time. And everybody can welcome El. You're going to be seeing him for a minute. He's going to be your the person you see. And I really congratulate him, and I hope that this is just like everybody else. I just want to spit this out real fast. I hope that this brings like really good stuff to you. I hope that you learn this program and get better at all sorts of media production and make a big name for yourself, and that leads you to the home front. That's my goal. That's my dream, my prayer for you and for anybody else that wants to join this program or any other program on the yard. This kind of stuff can take you places. And with that, I want to thank you, El,
Thank you.
and Joe,
Thank you.
and Mr. Wardwell. On that note, thank you for joining Yard Buzz, and we'll see you next time.